We're waiting for one person. It's just going to be a minute. Is that okay? Okay.
They're going to be starting in just a few minutes, but here is our wonderful author and artist. And unlike some of the previous events, we're going to be moving around, so I'm going to be following them around for the event. And just a reminder, too, that shortly after this, the recording of this event will be on there. So if you have any problems or you missed something or want to watch again or take a look at some of the beautiful paintings again, you'll be able to see those. Some of the paintings are right behind them. And this is on the cover of the book. And this is the book right here. If you have not ordered it, you can order it on our website. And if you do it before this event ends, we'll get a signed copy tonight for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the paintings how can they get the paintings if they like them and they see it virtually?
The show will be up until June 11th. And then my website is my name, MarilynMassad.com. And they can go there, and the paintings are there.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. It's good. It's good. No. It's good.
Hi. Thank you for coming. And I'll start by saying, hi, I'm Marilyn.
And I'm Cynthia.
And first we want to thank everyone for coming. It's an honor that you're all here. And thank you to Jill and Dave of the Commons for giving us this space, hosting us, and giving us the opportunity to share our art and passion with you. We are so grateful.
And thank you also to East End Books P-Town for hosting, and to Jeff for taking care of all the details, and for helping to get the word out, and for all he does for readers and writers. And thank you to Richard, too, back in the back, selling books. And thank you to Jeff's mom, Carol, for coming all the way from South Carolina.
So here's what we're going to do. We have about a 20-minute presentation,
and then about a 10-minute conversation
afterwards, and then
questions if you have any. So if you have any, make a note, and we'll get to them shortly.
Towards the end. I was born in 1957.
And I was born in 1957.
Oh,
so much in common.
At 3 years old, I was a shy little kid and cried every day when my mother dropped me off at nursery school. One day, I remember the teacher sitting down beside me and asked what I wanted, what I would like. I looked around and said, I'd like to paint. She said, you can do that. She got me a little smock, finger paints, an easel with paper on it, And every day afterward, I knew where my place in the classroom was. My smock, my paints, and my easel was waiting for me. I started painting at Clark University Nursery School.
And when I was pregnant with child number 3, back in 1989, practicing law became one thing too much. While I'd always been a reader, during the years I stayed home with the kids, the worlds created by Laurie Colwin, Ann Tyler, Barbara Kingsolver, and so many more magically connected me to something bigger than myself. When I looked up again, it was 1995, and my kids were 2, 6, 8, and 14. I didn't want to go back to practicing law. I wanted to create that magical connection. I wanted to be a writer. And the words I first put on paper back in those days, simple paragraphs about women and the different choices they'd made for their lives, became a part of The Art of Her Life, which is published today, 25 years after I started it.
The reason we're here tonight is last summer I had a desire to work in collaboration with other artists. What I knew is that I don't want to work alone.
Marilyn had a vision, and she told me about it. And I said, well, I didn't know about that vision of collaboration. But I have an idea. I came to her 2021 art show that was here at the Commons. This space that's all about working together and artists collaborating. And so when I found out that The Art of Her Life was going to be published, I knew exactly where and with whom I wanted to celebrate and collaborate.
So when Cynthia came to me with this idea, my head blew up and my heart exploded. And I said yes. I was like beyond myself.
All right, let's see. I'm supposed to say, welcome to The Art of Her Life.
So you can follow us around the room. So thank you.
The people in the back are going to have to twist a little, just for a minute, and then we'll be back around.
This is infusion. The way I see infusion is both meets the exalted, the unlikeliness of a vase of flowers emerging from sand and water.
The picture seems complete, and yet I'm not in it. Framed by the white door molding, Mark sits on the floor in front of the TV in jeans and a dark green shirt. Caroline, a yellow bow in her long hair, reclines in his lap. Elizabeth, in red overalls, stands behind him, the same height as his head, running her hands through his red hair. I'm the observer, the spectator, the viewer. All pictures and paintings need viewers to appreciate and search for what lies beneath.
And this is Treasure Beholds Us. Out of the underworld, light and love come.
In my tiny study, one window, a framed portion of the day, I step to my desk, which is overflowing. A basket of things to do, little rectangles of color awaiting the next reminder. A rain-scented candle, thick ceramic mug, thick ceramic pens in a museum mug. My laptop, attempts at the essay for the contest, and Jack Flam's Matisse on art. I toss the mail into the basket. It will all have to wait a few more weeks until summer is over and the girls are back in school. I reach for my purse. Around me everywhere, on posters and postcards and pages of magazines and stacks of books, the paintings of Henri Matisse. I want to be with Mark and the girls, I do, and yet I feel a pull to remain here with Henri.
And this is the long view. From here to eternity, Life's journey, Emily's journey.
At 9 years old, the spell of once upon a time had already made its mark. I would fall in love, get married, have children, and live happily ever after. But with that first trip to a museum, as I stood in front of Breakfast by Henri Matisse, I knew, with the certainty that only a child can have, that this painting would be as much a part of my life story as falling in love and getting married. 27 years later, it still is.
Lasting light. Some sense of my favorite moments. How the light lands in gardens, windows, and on things gives me moments of warmth and safety.
After the painting Breakfast, I discovered other paintings of girls by themselves. The colors seeping out of skin, green noses, yellow cheeks, blue blotches around the mouth. I wanted to be a girl reading. I wanted to be Marguerite. I didn't play music, I looked at paintings. I didn't collect albums, but instead art books and postcards of paintings. And the things in the paintings. On my bedside table, I arranged a tray, a teapot, a dish of lemons. I imagined my bedroom as his canvas, ready for Henri to swoop in and make order, with shape and color, warm light, just like he did in Breakfast. Yes, there were other paintings, but I always returned to Breakfast. I was a girl who kept everything inside, and Henri showed me how to see what was there. When I saw colors explode on one of his paintings, I thought, I didn't even know. How did he?
The blue vase. Sometimes it's as simple as a blue vase.
On top of my desk, in a clear plastic folder, my essay. All around it, the disorder of daily life. Magazine clippings, notes for the start of school, a shirt that needs to be returned, my overflowing to-do basket. I feel lopsided and long for the balance of Matisse's interior with a top hat, a desk covered with books, papers, an empty flower vase, the top hat. Matisse would begin with an abundance of color and then cut away the unnecessary details. Drawing with scissors, he called it. He didn't get things right on the first go either. Hundreds of sittings. Moving blocks of color until he found the shape and the composition felt right. Now at 36, I no longer know whether to pick up the brush or the scissors. I need to stand again in front of Breakfast and see, as Henri said, with the eyes of a child, as though I were seeing the painting for the first time.
And here is Lush Life. Lush Life is a celebration of God's bounty. For me, painting with pinks and blues was a stretch. As evidenced, I'm more comfortable with orange and yellow for flowers and greens for the green. But this is Lush Life.
And I love the pinks in that one, and the purples. The essay is due today, and as I walk in from the lot behind the museum to the back door, I hold it with two hands close to my chest. Words on paper are permanent and visible, out there for anyone to see. I feel overly serious and ridiculous, so I drop my hands, hold the essay with only one. And when I step from the black asphalt to the pebbled concrete of the walkway, I force my gaze from the ground to the open sky, unearthing the feeling of possibility. Warm winds jump from here to there, the weather struggling to change, to push forward into fall.
The art of her life. This painting is the inspiration that materialized before I saw or read the book. We didn't have a copy of the book in print, so there was nothing I could do.
For a long time.
The whole idea was to make a show that related to the book. So all this was intuited before I got the book, which I think is just so cool how it all came out. So yeah, and the palette on this one also goes deeper and darker than I'm used to, leading to the element of surprise. It lives here and Emily lives here.
This may be my favorite. At my desk, I have trouble concentrating. Attendance at the museum has doubled since the contest was announced. The local paper has run several articles about it. Our favorite paintings has reached the hearts of the people, according to an editor at the Charleston Post and Courier. People, the editor continued, want to feel things again, and they are looking to art to show them the way. After that first day in the museum, I learned that Matisse was a private man who so disliked writing about or discussing his feelings that he was often considered not to have any. But when he picked up a paintbrush, feelings appeared on the canvas, as if he would paint to see how he felt. And once it was there in front of him, he might say, so I was confused.
Iris. Faith, courage, valor, hope, and wisdom. This painting represents moments after my father's passing where I show up for myself.
And I just want to ask, did you paint this little face in here on purpose?
Well, I don't even know the face, but other people ask me about the face, so no.
See the eyes and the nose and the mouth? Isn't that cool? Henri also had a favorite painting, Cézanne's Three Bathers. He said, in the 37 years I have owned this canvas, I have come to know it quite well, though not entirely, I hope. I have drawn from it my faith and my perseverance. Matisse's Breakfast has been my favorite painting for almost 30 years, yet I've seen the original only once. What it told me then was that there was more to life than the everyday. There was feeling.
And here we have Sky Shadows. Sky Shadows is one of the thin places. My intention for the whole show was to paint it in shades of gray because Cynthia loves gray days on the Cape in Provincetown in the winter.
And you see how well that worked out.
But anyways, yes, this is the thin place.
After dinner, after celebrating, after everything, I bring us each a glass of champagne to bed. The room is cool with the windows open, but that makes being under the covers so much better. I lean back against Mark. He smooths my hair with one hand while he turns on the TV and changes channels with the other. The English Patient is on. I loved the book. And we watch about 10 minutes, the part around the fire, when Catherine reads from Herodotus and Almasy falls in love. Mark sighs. What? I ask. I wish I didn't have to get up and go back to my house. Well, stay then. The white gauze drapes billow into the room. I have stuff I need for work at my house. Can't you get it in the morning? But he's out of bed already, dressing, and is gone in less than a minute. He doesn't say anything about how disjointed he feels not combining our lives, but I feel it in the shadows, and I leave it there, along with my fears. I focus instead on the light and colors of the TV as they flicker against the darkness. There he goes, dipping his brush into the midnight blue of need, then into the magenta of want, into the dark goldenrod of regret. Must he add the ochre of fear? And what of missing him? I admit to seashell white. The warm color of the terracotta tiled floor, the red and white striped cloth, and vases of flowers. A viridian vase with muted crimson poppies and 2 tall irises, the color of blue ink. A small lavender gray vase with flowers of white, red, rust, and celadon. With the flax-colored walls, it feels as if sunshine is coming straight through from outside. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have, I'll let you start.
Well, I have a question for Cynthia. My biggest question was, have you always loved Matisse? How did this come to happen? With Matisse being like the main character almost in the book.
I have not always loved Matisse. Back when I wanted to start writing, when I was writing the paragraphs about the women, I was thinking about how I could show and how these women could change during the course of the novel. And so this was the days, remember those days when we had coffee table books everywhere, stacked up art books everywhere? So I had them, and I would grab them and start looking at them, and it occurred to me that maybe I could show the change in a character by a different perception in a painting. So I started looking for a painting that could be interpreted 2 different ways. So I looked at Picasso, Renoir, Cézanne, Monet, everyone, Matisse, went through book after book after book. And I finally settled on Breakfast by Henri Matisse. And the bonus that I had no idea was coming at that point is that Matisse also wrote about art. There's a whole book, the book I mentioned in one of the readings, that Jack Flam's Matisse on Art, that has collected the writings of Matisse on art, and he's translated them. And I have devoured that book, and his writing is almost as important in this book as his paintings.
Awesome.
So I have a question for you.
And?
Since you're an artist, do you have a favorite painter or painting?
Well, my favorite painter, since I was 7 years old, is Marc Chagall, and my favorite painting was I in the Village. And ever since then, I knew I was going to be an abstract artist.
I love Chagall. Yeah. I had a little book, a little tiny book on Chagall, and I love that painting.
We all had that.
I know. The blotches and the upside down people and the flying people, yeah. And just blotches of blue and a blotch of red. It was awesome. I love Marc Chagall. And now we thought we'd tell you a little bit about how we created the presentation tonight. So the first step was that The Art of Her Life was going to be published. And I had been doing, or I was thinking of doing, I had another book come out this year too, which is crazy, but I was thinking of doing a book tour, but not by myself, collaborating with local writers everywhere I go. And so I was totally on to the collaboration idea and very excited about it. So when I found out this book was going to be published, as I mentioned, I thought of Marilyn.
And so, of course, as I said earlier, I was like blown away, and I've been wanting to work in collaboration and not really quite knowing how. And so, of course, I said yes. And
all I really told her was the title and just a short description, like it's about this woman who falls in love with a painting by Matisse. That was it.
And like, I think there was, at least how I heard it was, she was searching for herself because she was kind of like not so, quite so happy in her life. She wasn't unhappy, but there was something missing. And then when she said the book is the art of her life, I was like, what? and yeah, and so I said yes. The first painting that came out was that, which for me, I mean, like I said, I painted these other oranges and pinks, but this was the book cover that her son made, and it was so similar. I was like, what? Again, what? Because the collaboration started almost like in the ether.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't read the book, I hadn't seen the book, and I just had an idea of what it was about. I know Cynthia, we've known each other for about 4 or 5 years, I think. So, you know, this is the intuition. Yeah.
And then from that, you started painting, is that right?
Started painting, well, this I started painting probably before the holidays.
Right, and then after the holidays, you really went
got
crazy.
in. Yeah.
And so then, I don't know when it was, January, February, no, when would it have been? I can't remember exactly, but I came and all the paintings were piled up in her studio. And I got to see them for the first time. It was just breathtaking. And so from after that, I went back to the book and started selecting passages. And then you sent me photos, right?
Photos, yeah.
Maybe I may have been.
The photos came first.
Okay, photos came first, and then I started kind of saying, okay, well this passage kind of makes me think of this painting and that painting, and then as far as hanging them, Marilyn wanted these 4 to be together, and so but she didn't care what order it was in. So I could kind of match up the passages with these paintings, and so the ones we chose, you know, are here in a certain order, but then the other ones all fill in and make this lovely room that feels very calm and peaceful. Now we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Back.
Like, can you tell us about the cover art? Is it your son?
Yes, it is. This is, you can look up, you can Google the painting Breakfast by Henri Matisse, and it's very much, this is a sliver of it. And it's a digital design of it. So you know how in a poem, sometimes it'll be written after another poet. So he called this After Matisse's Breakfast. So it's kind of, you know, an homage to it, but it's a digital design, if you can believe that.
Meaning a digital?
He did it on the computer.
Of the original? Or he copied? I don't understand.
He took, somebody help me. So he took
I took a copy of the photo.
He looked at the painting, the original Matisse painting, and he did his own version of it.
Okay, digital. Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, good. See, you helped me learn how to talk about it.
I'm curious what inspires the colors that you use. Is it in your dream realm that you find the inspiration to paint?
That's a really good question. So I always use a photo of some kind. But if you saw the photo that I'm using, you would say, that doesn't add up. Like, it's not anything like the photo. But what I use in the photo is like the color scheme, like what goes together, and I start from there. But most of this does come out of imagination. But there is some stability in the photo, structure, some kind of like line here, a line here, or, you know, wave there.
You listen to music while you paint?
I do.
I feel so much movement.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
I
That's
do.
awesome.
Yeah, I always listen to, I have my Spotify playlist. Yeah. Thank you. Julian?
Well, I've followed your paintings for years, and I wonder, how do you transition the difference in your color palettes from, you know, show to show? You seem to experiment with a different color each time I see one of your shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes along with whatever photo I pick has certain colors in it, and I start there. So it's not exactly intentional, and it's probably more intuitive. I mean, that's the best word I can use. But I did try to make an all gray palette. This was going to be an all gray show. I had this idea, and then that was like close, but then it was starting to get to the blues, and then everything else came out. So, thank you.
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
how was your transition from working as a lawyer to becoming a writer, or
Rough.
maybe getting into, was it a different
Yes, it was really
transition?
rough because I was such a total left brain person. And so language was easy, the law was easy, things like that. I'd make a lot of lists, very left brained. And so, I loved reading. I'd read 1 million novels. I thought, okay, I'm going to write a novel. And I just started writing. And it's really, you got to loosen up a little bit. And it took me really probably 1 novel, 2 novels. It was really the 3rd novel where my right brain kind of started to be equal to my left brain. So it was a whole different kind of writing. I mean, I do a number of things to counteract the left brain from taking control. Like I don't outline, and I try to step away from my desk, and take a walk to let my subconscious, have a hand in it. And this book, I've worked on it for so many years that it got the benefit of all that learning these last couple of years. Because I would go back to this and read it like in between writing the other novels and apply all my newfound writing skills, as well as changing car phones to cell phones. The one thing that I changed at the last minute, right before it went to press, was I had a scene in here where they're paying the pizza guy with a credit card. She goes to her wallet to get the credit card. And I mean, no one does that anymore, right? It's in an app, right? And you just click a button. So, lots of little things like that. But yeah, no, it was rough. I thought that, I'm sure that being an attorney and having a solid liberal arts education and all the languages helped me with the foundation of knowing how to write. But after that, there's a whole thing happening that I really didn't have any idea about till I started trying to figure out how to do it.
I thought you might like to hear that Picasso said about Matisse at one point, you can forgive Matisse anything because he has the sun in his belly.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
They were friends and rivals.
Yeah. Anybody else? Jeff?
Oh, yeah, just actually 2 questions. Earlier, people on the live stream found out how they can get the paintings. First question is, can you let people know how they can find you online, and also people that are interested in some of the other things you're doing in terms of the monthly in these days and that kind of thing, how can they find you? There is a link on our website for the book event, but also if we can get that. And then just secondly, could you say just a little bit about that other wonderful book that was published a few months ago?
Sure. If I can transition over there to that other novel. So first of all, you can find me on my website, which is just my name, CynthiaNewberryMartin.com, and it's Newberry, Newberry. You can buy the books at East End Books, P-Town. And the other book, and you can find out on my website, there's everything, the books, a little about me, the series that I edit on Days in the Lives of Other Writers that I've been editing for over a decade. And then Love Like This was published in April. And it's the story of a marriage after 22 years with children at home. Angelina is looking forward to the empty house to figure out what she wants. Her husband Will knows already. He wants her all to himself. And 9 days after their child-free life begins, he walks in the back door and announces that he's been fired and is home to stay. So 9 days was all she got, and that was not enough.
Thank you. And for people interested in supporting this wonderful institution, the Commons, you can go onto their website. Is it the Commons? The CommonsPtown.org. You could also then find out about all the other events and things that are happening here and the art events. So please go on there and support this fantastic organization. They also make it available for people that need co-working spaces to rent those co-working spaces. And I guess at various times during the year, there are also some studio spaces available for rent. You can find all that on the website. You can come by, you can email them. Right now, of course, this beautiful art is up. There's sculptures outdoor and on the side. It's just a beautiful place, so we hope you'll come. If you want to know more about book events coming up at East End Books P-Town, please go to our website, eastendbooksptown.com. And then the only thing I wanted to mention, if I could, is that we're not open yet in Boston and the Seaport, but we'll be open mid-August. But we do have an event August 1st with Julia Glass, the National Book Award winner, and Tom Perrotta, whose many of his books have been made into series and movies. Probably the most well-known series was The Leftovers. If anybody saw that, I really love that. So that's on our website as well if you want to come to that event. Thank you very much. And it's, closing remarks from these two amazing people. I can see a lot of the paintings are already sold or there's red stickers, so I think you should move quickly to get them.
And we have, Richard's got the books in the back.
Yes.
And also, please help yourself to a glass of something and a wonderful, fancy, The Art of Her Life napkin and bookmark. Thank you all for coming.